Alrighty everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're taking a look at a Hunter Arc build because those are going around a bunch. But this one's great, and I got some more on the way, so let's get right into it. First off, we're going to start out with our abilities, starting out with our super, Gathering Storm. Now this is a great one-off super for boss damage and area denial that also jolts targets. But because of our exotic, it's going to get some increased functionality. For our dodge, we're using Gambler's Dodge to get a few extra melees off. You have your jump and your melee. So I have this melee equipped Combination Blow, but because of our aspect later, I don't really use the melee in the traditional sense. So feel free to use either one regardless of cooldown. And for our grenade, we're going to be using Flashbang Grenade. It doesn't have that long of a cooldown and intrinsically applies blind to targets, which will stun unstoppable champions. And blind is really one of those big keywords that we're looking at with this episode. Next up, we have our aspects, starting out with Tempest Strike. While sliding, activate your charged melee ability to unleash a devastating uppercut attack that travels along the ground in front of you, damaging and jolting targets it hits. Now I really like this melee because it's very good at taking out clusters of enemies and applying jolt to them, which will help us take care of other targets that aren't initially caught in the wave. And for our next aspect, we're going to be using Flow State. Defeating a jolted target makes you amplified. While you are amplified, your dodge recharges more quickly, you are more resilient while dodging, and your reload speed is greatly increased. So this aspect gives a lot of general buffs that are really nice. First, the guaranteed amplified buff off of a jolt kill like your Tempest Strike melee, and the reload speed and dodge buffs are also really nice in gameplay. Now let's go over to our fragments, starting out with Spark of Resistance. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. So on a subclass where there is no healing, having damage resistance built into the kit is really nice. On a side note, please let Amplified give at least some damage resistance, even 20% would be nice. But it also gives us a nice plus 10 to our strength. Next up, we're using Spark of Brilliance. Defeating a blinded target with precision damage creates a blinding explosion. So this fragment is nice as it lets us further spread blind to even more targets after we get our initial blind. And it also gives us a plus 10 to our intellect stat. Next up, we're using Spark of Shock. Your arc grenades jolt targets. So I really like this one because now targets hit by our grenade will be both blinded and jolted, which stuns 2 champion types, as long as you're using blinding nades. However, it does take away minus 10 from our discipline stat. And rounding it out, we're using Spark of Discharge. Arc weapon final blows have a chance to create an ionic trace. So this is nice because it's going to increase the amount of ionic traces that are flowing to you, which will give you ability energy. But it does take away minus 10 from our strength stat. Now let's go over to our exotics, starting out with Centrifuge. Our intrinsic overcharge capacitor reads, sprinting, sliding, and firing this weapon builds a temporary electrostatic charge, increasing range and reload speed. Final blows with high charge cause explosions, and maximum charge explosions blind targets. Our trait, Regenerative Motion, reads, sprinting gradually reloads this weapon. And our catalyst reads, while amplified, this weapon gradually gains overcharge. So this weapon, when it came out and for a long time, I never really gave any attention to it. But it's actually been really fun to use, especially on Arc because of all this energy. The weapon causing blinding explosions is also great due to our current seasonal mods. And for our next exotic, we're going to be using Raiju's Harness with the exotic perk, Mobius Conduit, which reads, activating Gathering Storm calls down lightning on all nearby targets, jolting them while also amplifying targets. Defeating arc debuff targets grants a small amount of Gathering Storm energy. So this exotic recently got a rework, adding a lot of new functionality to it. Adding some more jolting effects to the super and amplifying allies upon casting it is really nice. The super regen on defeating arc debuff targets is also really nice, especially considering how most of our kit applies an arc debuff effect. Now let's look at some of our mods. Starting out with our artifact mod. You're going to want to use Authorized Melee for discounted melee mods, Trace Evidence for more ionic trace generation, Retinal Burn to apply blind to targets at the expense of armor charge, Arc Compounding so that arc sources deal increased damage to blinded targets, and the Thick of It, where rapid final blows while surrounded grant you armor charge. As for our armor mods, you're going to want to run some melee mods because of our Tempest Strike melee and the current discount on them, some arc mods to assist with our Centrifuge, and Elemental Charge, which gives the chance for Ionic Traces to give us an armor charge. So, for our gameplay loop, You just want to get some general kills with your Tempest Strike melee and Centrifuge. And try to aim for precision kills with Centrifuge to apply blind to even more targets. But when your super is ready, blind as many targets as you can with your blinding nade or Centrifuge, then use your Gathering Storm super to defeat the blinded targets, which should give you a lot of your super energy back. And after that, just keep defeating arc debuff targets to repeat the cycle. So that's the build, but before we get to the showcase, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I've been a bit busy with school lately, but seeing as now that that's winding down a little bit more, there should be a little bit more content coming out of me for these next couple of weeks. But with all that out of the way, let's go right to the showcase. Oh, where we at? Alrighty, let's see what this build can do. Now, I had an earlier run of this that I was trying to do, but while I was in here recording footage, I got error coded back to orbit, and it wouldn't let me rejoin. So, I've just decided to do a fresh 10 for this segment. And you guys get jolted and blinded. Look at that. Comboed beautifully right there. What was that dog doing? Alright, I'll take a little bit over a third, maybe less. So how that works is you want to like blind them and then pop your super, because I guess it kind of just double dips into defeating arc debuff targets. Really good at getting you back super energy. Obviously at max you'll get 50%, but even if you just get like an extra quarter or a little over that, then it really helps you with dishing out as many supers as you can. Like right there, that combo, 50%. And that's just a really good setup right there. Oh, that felt so wrong right there, just punching a dog to death. But with the power of level 1 trip mines, surely we can defend the last city. Oh, he's like dead over there. Oh shit. I'll take that super energy back. Alright, not a whole lot to start, but we make do. If we could just do a lot of blinding and living right now, that would be, most ideal, especially considering our teammates are dead. Alright. That was the build. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you next time. Stay alrighty.